Okay, I just had to find the right microphone there. Um, we've got Andree back again, ladies and gentlemen, and you'll be pleased that we're going to be speaking about a journey to the self, otherwise known as closer to God. I've got the new version, the new title.
So you changed the name altogether?
Yep, I changed
Hmm.
the name because I didn't want to attract Christians. You see,
Okay, I
yeah,
see.
because Christians, they're just not going to grok with what I'm saying. And,
Yeah.
I attracted lots of Christians, a few months ago, and, they end up being trolls and you have to get rid of them. And
Hmm.
so I thought, well, it's more of a spiritual journey uh, in any case. And so a journey to the self. Well, if anybody knows what the self is, well, that's a complex thing. And you see, anyone that's spiritual would have an awareness what that's about. And so they go, oh, yeah, I mean, I'm on the spiritual journey. That sounds like the book for me. But to say closer to God, it sounds like I'm some sort of Bible thumper. And I'm going to be speaking
Yeah.
about, um, uh, Yahweh, Jehovah, and Jesus all the time, but I do speak about them in here, but only my interaction with those so-called egregores, And I'm really confused about it, Andre, because I'm absolutely 1000% not a believer, and yet I've had very, very powerful Christian-related experiences, which have been, very, very bizarre. So I don't
Yeah.
know what to say about that.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I forgot what chapter I'm speaking about my experience with God and Jesus. But have you read those?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
have, but I don't know what the number of the chapter it is actually.
yeah, maybe 14.
Yeah, maybe something like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think we ended on actually something like that the last time we were talking.
yeah.
Unless,
So I mean, it's you see, it's significant that this is why I want to speak with lots of people because you never underscored anything in that chapter relating to God that I can remember. Um, because you're not into that, you're into different stuff. So you underscore stuff that you're interested in. But if I was to speak with someone that maybe is a little bit Christian or a great deal Christian, then they'd be underscoring all the things about Jesus and God, and it'd be an entirely different conversation. So if anybody's out there and you want to have a conversation with me about the religious facet of the book, or the spiritual facet, because it's spiritual, it's religious, it's psychological, it's philosophical, it's ontological, it's metaphysical, it's all that stuff. And I don't know whether I'll ever get over me being shocked that I just can't get anybody else other than yourself, Andre, to engage in the book. 77 people have bought the book now, Go figure.
yeah, yeah. So I don't know if we read this the last time, but uh, otherwise it will be the first time. Confessing our wrongful acts before a priest or
Yes, we
God.
did that one.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought so too.
on
Yeah,
confessions.
yeah. Then maybe we did the last one as well. Jesus said on several occasions that we don't need to visit a temple
Yep.
to come. Yeah. Then the next will be here on page 280. I think it's good that I say which page it is
Mm,
also, because then people can go and look it up themselves.
yeah, I think so.
If someone is spiritual, they manifest their wishes via confidence in their cosmic power. The end game is the same. There is very compelling subjective support for both avenues working equally well.
So, what came before that? Because we've lost half the sentence.
If someone is religious, they will naturally pray to God.
Yes,
So if someone is spiritual, they manifest their wishes via confidence in their cosmic power. The
yes,
end game is the same. There
yeah,
is a very compelling subjective support for both avenues working equally well.
yes.
Hmm.
So, what did you make of that?
I think they work maybe equally well, but there is another facet which you talk about earlier in the book, which is the egregores. And that would make something else, because then there is actually an entity that has gotten a lot of energy to it throughout the year. So
Yeah,
maybe there can be a kind of difference in a way.
yeah. So, what I'm getting at here is that if we speak to religious people, they will say that you just have faith in God, and you pray to Jesus, and you ask God and Jesus for whatever you want. And I asked lots of um, so-called Christians about this, and they said, "Well, it most certainly does happen, and it happens in very curious ways." And so it's kind of like, look, if you pray that you want something to make manifest, then it will manifest at some stage, probably. Um, and I said to myself, well, we can do that without Jesus or without God, because we do that via the law of attraction, which I write a part something about the law of attraction and all the
Yeah.
experiences I had. You
Yeah.
see, so what I did is with the pink football and with this particular British coin that I asked for, I asked the Cosmos, I said, look, I want to come on this old British coin, which has been out of mint for oh goodness me, 50 years. Been out of mint for 50 years, and I haven't seen one in a long, long time. So it's not likely that I'm going to come upon one. And then I did come upon one 2 weeks after, and I write about it in the book. You remember that coin, and so when that happens, Andre, we have to go. There is something fucking weird going on.
Mm.
Because what actually happened is when I said I made a video, this was about, I don't know, 8 years ago or something like that, and I said, look, I'm going to test this law of attraction, and I'm going to say, look, there's one coin that I want to make manifest. I forgot about it. I never spoke about it again. You just let it go into the universe. 2 weeks later, I was out with Paul, and a weekend before, Paul went to a craft fair. And at the craft fair, there was a load of key rings on this stall, and he noticed one of these coins which I had requested. It was the only one there, and he bought it, and he brought it to me, and he said to me, "Oh, give me a hand." So I held out my left hand. And I'm right-handed, so I don't know why I held out my left hand. But what I said in the video was that somebody's going to be placing that coin in my left hand. Right, so
Mm.
Paul never said hold out your left hand. He just says hold out your hand. So I held it out, and then he put it in. This coin is this
Yeah.
one here,
Yeah.
right? And on that coin, there's a date. And the date is the date of my date of birth, the year
Yes.
1963. So not only did I manifest that coin, I manifested that coin in the exact year of my birth. That
Mm.
doubly fucked my head in. What do you think about that, Andre? Have you ever had any of those scenarios whereby you've asked the cosmos and it's given you?
Mm, no, not exactly that I asked, but I have had really uh, fantastic synchronistic events.
Right,
Um, one of them is like when I was in Portugal, I saw it written 33, and then it was like, just people taking their pen and writing stuff.
right.
So I saw that a couple of times. And then I also lived on uh, three,
Floor,
floor
third floor.
three, yeah,
Yeah,
on the third door, and so on. And
right.
it kept on being that when I moved to the next place was also the third door. But when I got home from Portugal, I stood in line. I took a number, and I was about to buy a card for the bus.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
on that number,
Ticket.
and it what stood 313. So I looked upon it like three then line down. But then I went away because I wanted to get out some money from the bank account.
Yeah,
Then that had already passed that number, so I needed to take a new number, and that number was 333.
right,
And then in front of me, when it became before became my turn, the guy in front of me had the number three on the back of his pants, and I was standing in line number three. And
right,
then later on, I took the bus number three.
right.
So,
Yeah. So things
yeah.
like that, they're really you start to think some spooky shit going on. Um, but yeah, this law of attraction that I had when that coin came to me, it was placed in my left hand, and it was minted in the year I was born. Well, I mean that's incredible. And then I did another one with a pink football. I said, look, I'm going to ask for a pink football. I've never seen one. I've never seen such a thing as a pink football. Unless you're on the beach or something, and that's not a football; it's a beach ball or something like that. So the very next day, I'm cycling down into town and I'm coming down a hill. And in the centre reservation of a dual carriageway, there's like 6 feet of grass. And I see this football glistening pink in the bright sunshine. And it caught my eye. And I'm coming down the hill and I'm going, what the fuck? So I pulled over. I goes and picks this football up, and I'm looking at it, and it's kind of like it's a very very mauvey pink color. But when you hold it like this, it looks pink, and then when you hold it like that, it looks a little bit tingy, mauvey and purpley and pink. And so I made another video, and I said to the people in the video, does this football look fucking pink to you? And they went, yeah, fucking, it's pink football. And so I'm like, well, what's the chances of that? So, if we do want things in life, then we can ask the cosmos via the law of attraction, but we can also ask Jesus. So, I think they're the same thing, Andre. I think they're the same thing. I think it's cosmos.
Hmm. Yeah. And all the things that make it delay is like blockages or things you need to handle beforehand, because So certain things then in my life I have experienced that, oh, it happens maybe a bit later sometimes, certain things that I want to do. And
Yeah.
so um yeah, but when the time is right, yeah.
Yeah, so with my little furry friend, Providence, I was saying at the beginning for many months because I thought she was a he. And I said, "Oh, I so wish that she was a female because I would have loved to have had little babies, be a granddad." Oh, never mind, she's just a fantasy. And then all of a sudden it turns out that she's pregnant. And now, I am a granddad.
Really? So you have many squirrels now?
Well, no, we don't have many. She only had one. Um,
Mm.
Squirrels can have between 1 and 9, but
Mm.
she only has one that I can see, and I can't be 100% categorically sure because when I put the camera into the nest box, there's a lot of bedding in there, and there could be another one under there somewhere. But I think there's only two maximum, but probably only one. And so,
Mm.
my wish came true. My squirrel wasn't a male; it was female, and she's had at least one baby now. And so I'm like, well, did I make that happen? uh did I manifest that? How? Because I really wanted it, Andre. And this is the thing: if you really want something, then the universe just has this curious way of giving you something. Yeah.
Yeah, I know when I was really passionate about this dog with the snout, bull terrier.
Right.
I really like those. They are fun. So I met a lot of them all of a sudden,
Right.
but they are not very common in Sweden.
Ah.
I don't know if they are common in England
No, I
because
don't
they
really.
come from Britain to begin with. You know, a bull terrier with the snout,
Yeah, they've got the long, pointy snout.
like a egg form head. You know, people think it look ugly often. You know, but
Yeah.
they're really funny.
Right. Yeah. Um, no, I'm not really into dogs. Don't know too much about it. But yeah,
Mm.
so what I'm saying here then that uh, and what I did is on a couple of occasions I asked God. I said, "Okay, God, can you help me out with this?" And on two occasions, they made manifest in an instant, and I write about them both in the book. So, and I've spoken about these quite a lot of times in other videos, so I won't run over these stories again now. But they were very, very powerful manifestations. Um, and I'm like, well, something's going on. Something is going on. I can't deny it. You know.
Mm.
So when we ask out loud, and many spiritual people or religious people, they'll tell you if you want something, ask out loud because the power of words is very, very powerful. And if you're just saying it in your mind, they don't have anything like the power. And so, if you're making confessions, go out into the woods or into a park and make your confessions out in the ether, because then they will, dissipate into the ether and something will heal them.
Yeah, like it's new moon today, and it's great time to set an intention around new moon as
Right.
well. You know, so 3:56, the new moon is at its beginning, so to
Oh,
speak.
okay. That's in Sweden.
Yeah, that's
Three
since
and 56. Yeah. So
yeah,
it'll be 2:56 here.
yeah. So you
Yeah.
can count the whole day tomorrow as well as a new moon day. You
Right.
know.
Yeah. So make those wishes manifest. Okay, I'm going to make a note of that.
And it is within the sign of Virgo.
Right.
and Virgo is a earth sign.
Yes.
So it's structure and orderly and clarity and so on.
Yes.
And it's
Pure.
pure, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So the next underlining is 286, page 286. So the real difference between faith and belief is that belief is fallible, whereas faith can never fail because it can't ever be proven fallible due to its ongoing, undiminishing nature. Faith is the symbolic bridge over all obstacles.
Yes.
Yeah. So belief is a more mundane thing, while faith is something that has been intensified by religion, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Now, I just said to you that I won't tell these stories what I asked God about because I've told them so many times and I wrote about them in the book. But
Yeah.
what you've just said now, right? For a while, for a few weeks, I was in a conundrum about what is the difference between belief and faith. And I was asking lots of biblical studying people and a few chaplains, and I said, look, can you tell me what the difference is between belief and faith? And all of the Christians were going, oh, you've got me now. Let me think about that. And they all need to think about it. Then they all needed to search in their Bible, but it doesn't tell them in their Bible. It doesn't tell them what the difference between faith and belief is. And I knew that because I'd read the Bible in its entirety a couple of times. I wanted to know what they thought it was and why they thought that they had faith. Because I used to say to them, look, if you don't know what faith is, then how do you know that you have it? Because what they say is, all about God and Jesus. Oh, yes, but you have to have faith. You can't doubt the Bible. You can't doubt Jesus or God. You have to have faith. And I'm like, well, if you don't know what faith is, if you can't describe faith to me off the top of your head now, I'm going to assume that you don't really know what it is. So I don't think you have it. And so, anyway, they get upset about that. So
Hmm.
what I did is I went out into under the sky, and it was a big, fluffy clouds in the sky, and I said, "Okay, God, you say that uh, anything that we ask you, you have a covenant to give us if we believe in you." And so I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. I'm saying, I believe there's something going on, and if you can help me out with that, then I'd be very, very happy about that. But God, can you please tell me what is the difference between belief and faith? Right? Just as I said that, Andre, I saw a cloud formation in the sky in the shape of a bridge. Now it was in a D shaped. It was it was like this. It was like that. You see,
Hmm.
all cloud around and cloud underneath, and there was a D shaped, like a tunnel. And so, just as I looked at the bridge going over something, there was an internal dialogue which explained exactly, very very quickly, what it was. And what it was, it says, "Look, faith is the bridge over the cavern of belief." And I'm like,
Hmm.
faith is the bridge over the cavern of belief. And then they explained it a little bit more and said, yes, because look, faith is an ever ending, unceasing form of belief. Faith cannot be destroyed or torn apart or discredited or anything because you never lose faith. You see, because if people have a faith in God, then you have a faith that He actually exists. Well, when are you going to see Him? When you die. So people could say that, well, I've lost faith in God, and so then um, the faith which you held disappeared. But faith itself doesn't disappear. Faith is a thing that people can tap into or not. And so it described it like this: that belief is something that can be discredited. If you say to me, I believe I can box up my next door neighbour because he's this little weedy guy and he's not strong at all, and you could think, well, I'm much bigger, stronger, and everything like that. But you could be proved wrong. You don't know. He could be a martial artist. He could be fast, and he could just like box you in your chin and knock you out straight away. So therefore, your belief would be wrong, wouldn't it? Even though all evidence, most people would think that your belief would turn out to be true, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's true, right? But if you believe in the man in the sky, then that can never be discounted, can it?
Hmm.
So that was the difference. So faith is something that cannot be challenged. It's unending, undying, and it's not disprovable. So whereas belief is, and so something answered that, Andre. It showed me the bridge. Faith is like a bridge over a very tempestuous cavern, and I pictured instantly either like a Grand Canyon or a very, very powerful river. And albeit, if you're really strong, you think, you're a good swimmer, you could probably get across. It's not a guarantee. It's only a belief that you could get across. You could drown. But if you went over the bridge, then it's a dead cert that you get over. So faith is the bridge.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, things like that, again, it's kind of like it was shocking for me to have that revealed because I heard this all in my head. It was like a thought of my own, only it came very, very rapidly, sequential, and it was perfect. And I'm
Hmm.
like, well, I couldn't have fucking, just thought of it that quick, and
Hmm.
so where did it come
It,
from?
it synchronized, so to speak,
Yeah,
with your thought pattern.
yeah,
Um, Similar, like, well, if we connect it to synchronicity, I had a synchronicity not so long ago where I smelled one of those flowers that you smelled as well, those purple flowers.
right. The
I smelled
lilac.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, life is passing me by. And then when I came home, I looked at the video, and you had exactly the same flower, and you said that thing as well, that the life
Wow.
was passing you by, or something like that, you know. So
Yes.
that was a pure synchronicity that was.
Wow. That's so why did you smell that and say that?
Hmm. Because I probably had a feeling that it's passing me by, and then I smelled the flower, and I became more present, or something like that. Yeah.
Right. And what made you smell the flower?
Maybe I felt a little sense of the flower to begin with, and then I used to smell some flowers, not all the time, but that particular flower, I wanted to smell how it smelled, probably, or
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
So, I mean, what happened to me is I was just walking out of the churchyard where I go to read my books and meditate and that sort of thing, and I came by this bush, and it was mostly in full bloom, but there was a few of these flowers which had withered and they died, and I'm like, oh, ominous signs of winter coming. And
Mm.
so I embraced these flowers, and I felt how gentle and soft they were. And I remember as a kid, we used to have a lilac tree in our garden, purple one like that, and I always used to be smelling them because you could smell lilac, several meters away. The pollen blows in the air, and you can smell them. So I went up. And I was smelling them. And, then I said in this video, we have to remember people. Look what's happening here. Here's the most beautiful one. It's in full bloom, but then here's a dead one. And this is just a space of a week or 10 days.
Yeah.
So just remember, your life's passing you by. Be
Yeah.
present. So that's amazing that you had, the exact same thing with the same flower, You know,
Yeah.
it
And
wasn't like,
it's even more amazing now when we talk about it, you know.
yeah.
Uh, it is a really something, yeah.
Yeah, to have the same things going on in a very well the day apart. So
Yeah.
yeah, amazing. Mm.
On page 296, by adhering to the basic tenets of Christianity, we embrace compassion, kindness, acts of charity, acceptance, and non judgment. We become more caring and considerate, and of course, experience a more profound sense of becoming, more loving in general. These attributes creates homeostasis, which in turn gives rise to the production of more positive psychological responses, such as endorphins, etc., and reduces the production of negative responses, such as cortisol, being generated by our bodies that ruin our health and causes us to become sick. To have faith in a creator pays dividends if we never even so much as pick up a religious book in our lives.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So how would the mindset of the Christian mindset could have an positive effect on the mind and the body and so on? Yeah,
Yes.
because it comes with all those yeah, both the chemicals within the body and also uh, yeah, all the feelings it produces and so on.
Yeah, because if someone has faith, then they absolutely believe that they are going to be with Jesus when they die. So
Yeah.
they are being saved and they're not going to hell. So they've got that to look forward to and they don't need to be afraid. But also, if you have faith in Jesus, then the chances are you're being a good person. You're not doing any negative shit, which is going to be causing you to be feeling bad about yourself, guilty and angry and, all negative thoughts. And so when you look into the benefits of having faith, there is a lot. And with your thoughts creating endorphins, which make you feel good, instead of cortisol, which make you feel shit. If you're lying, if you're cheating, if you're doing a lot of wrong stuff, then your body is going to be producing negative energy. Because it's going to be a replication of what your thoughts are and what your actions are, and so there is a lot of health benefits for believing in a god, and so you know um, Oh, lots of people that they always say that religion serves humanity, and it does. And at this moment in time now, lots of people are trying to revamp religion
Yeah.
particularly Christianity, because they see the world falling apart and they think that we're all losing Christian values, which hold us together and keep our communities tightly knitted and stop us from doing stupid shit, you know. And there's a lot to be said for that. And so, yeah, that was just something that, I absolutely knew to be true because I felt it myself. The more I started to embrace the notion of faith, the more I was being less judgmental, towards my fellow man. And if I
Mm.
wasn't judging people, then I wasn't feeling that way inside. Because if you look at someone, you go, that guy's a twat, or, this, that, and the other. Well, every time you say those negative words, you create negative energy. And
Yeah.
so, if you don't judge people and you don't curse them, then you don't produce those negative energies in your body. So,
Mm.
you do actually feel more closer to God. And
Yeah.
so, this is why I finished each chapter off with a little sentence at the end, and saying, this is why I'm feeling closer to God.
Mm. Yeah. It is also a way of creating one's reality as well,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's a good thing to keep in mind because when I then think about how is my faith, I mean, I cut it down to my experience of it, like, okay, I like to depict the like compass within me that goes straight upward, to a
Yeah,
light
yeah.
and so on. And but many things like that is so hard to describe in words sometimes because it's yeah, like you said as well, it's contains to a feeling.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, when we started talking, I said, look, it's curious actually, because you never asked me any of these questions about God.
Yeah.
Um, but now it turns out that you are asking them because, it's kind of like another synchronicity because I said, I want to speak with people that maybe are a bit more religious to ask me these questions about God because you asked me about other things, other things that you are more tuned into. And it just so happens now that the very next questions are about God.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But I hadn't underlined so much in the previous when it came up, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah. It,
But it's all also might if I would read the book like 1 month prior or a month later, maybe I would see something else,
yeah, for
and
sure.
maybe my mind would be in tune with other aspects as well.
Yes.
So on page 303, God is going to communicate with you exactly how he knows he can. And that was the small sentence that I underlined here because then that means that he communicate to me or you as he know us to be.
Hmm.
Because certain things will just not fall down the right way to us to for us to grasp it,
Yeah.
because we are not wired in that or this way but in that way over here instead.
Yeah. So I made a video a couple of days ago, and I put two videos up, and one of the videos uh, is it says I was reading out of Madame Blavatsky's book, And this intellectual at this time, 150 years ago, he said, look, it's absolutely astounding when we can get 10 men reading from the exact same text in a book and will all have different opinions about it. So he said, we can only assume from that then that the truth is temperamental. It's all premised on our temperament, how we receive this information. And I'm thinking, well, okay, uh, to say it's all temperament is uh, I think it's a bit broader than that. What I say is it's down to our culture, it's down to our education, it's down to our social environment, it's down to our experiences in life. This is why we all have our own worlds. We do not live in the same world because what we do is we absorb information differently and we project it back out onto the world differently. And so there is no physical world out there like people think there is. Um, and when we look into human psychology, when we realize that our eyes see very different things, we focus on very different things, we see different colors and different patterns, and we see dimensions different and all different sorts of things. There's a whole bunch of stuff scientifically that are very different in many human beings. And so, on that basis alone, but then, of course, what our minds do, they filter out all the stuff that it doesn't feel it's necessary. So your mind would may consider lots of things necessary for it to absorb. If you're looking at something, my mind would think like, I don't think that's necessary. I'm just focusing on this and I'm just focusing on that. We see, I very often speak about in my videos that I focus on the details of pretty well everything. I'm looking at all the fine details of everything all the time. I'm very analytical. Whereas when I'm with other friends, and I say to them, look, have a look at that landscape. Tell me what you see. And they go, trees, fields, and the sky. And I'm going, is that all you see? Yeah. I'm like, well, don't you see how the leaves are shimmering there? Don't you see how those branches are waving there? Don't you see how the light is flickering, different hues there? Don't you see how, this bark on this tree is so much more grayer and finer than that? But they don't see that thing until you point it out
Hmm.
and go, oh, yeah, oh, yeah. But something filtered it out, you know?
Hmm. Yeah. Because I myself is observant of those stuff, like when I see the different shades and the different wavings or glistering or
Yeah.
whatever.
When lots of
So,
people that they're only looking for things that their immediate ego considers is necessary for them. Now,
hmm,
for instance, here's the thing: when I'm walking in a town, a city, or anywhere, right, I am looking at everything and I am absorbing everything. Why? That's just my nature. And whenever I am walking down one street, I always turn back around to look to see what the street looks like from the opposite direction. Why? Well, one of the reasons is because I've traveled so extensively around the world to ensure that I wouldn't get lost. Because every time I go to a new country, I'm exploring. Well, if you just go wandering like this, like an idiot without leaving yourself a trail to get back, you'll never know
yeah,
how to get back. So, therefore, you have to turn around and you have to take note of a certain sign, a certain building, the way the place looks, and whether you turn left or right onto that street and gather up all that information. But most people,
yeah,
they just won't do that. And when I used to go out with Mr. Nobody, he wouldn't look at anything. He
hmm.
wouldn't even look at me. He knew me for 5 years, and he didn't even know whether my eyes were blue or brown.
Yeah,
That's
that's
pretty
very
fucked up.
strange.
And when I
Yeah.
talk to him, I will never ever get eye contact. He's always talking to me like this, looking around everywhere. And there's been quite a few occasions in the past where I put my face in his face. like this. And he goes, what are you fucking doing? What are you fucking doing? And I'm like, I'm just trying to see if you can actually look into my eyes, right? Because he just never would. Some people, they just never ever get eye contact. And I'm like, that's fucking bizarre. Because if you don't get eye contact, all you're doing, that means you're not looking at the face. All you're doing is listening. And you're only
Yeah.
getting a fraction of the fucking information.
Yeah,
Because you need to
but
look at facial.
it's very strange to not have eye contact.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
This is
it's
very
weird.
strange. Well, Mr. Nobody is a very strange person.
Yeah.
But we've all heard of people that have got shifty eyes, and they only very fleetingly glance. They can be talking to you like this, and they'll look very shiftily, just for a little bit like that of your eyes, and it's kind of like they're looking to see if you're looking at them. Of course, I'm fucking looking at you. I'm talking to you, and it's like they can't just have a conversation like we are, reading each other's faces, expressions, and eyes, because you gather so much information. They don't do that.
Hmm.
And I'm like, well,
Hmm.
devious people don't want to do that because they don't want you looking in their eyes. You see, but what they do
Hmm.
is they quickly have a shifting glance. And anybody that's shifting just like that, they're shifty fuckers. Don't ever trust those people because what they're
Hmm.
doing is they are trying to read your face in a split second, but they don't want you to read theirs. So they'll turn it
Hmm.
away. Yeah.
Hmm. I can't recall that I have any such people around me.
Mm.
Hmm.
Well, doubtless you'll see
Interesting.
one now. Doubtless tomorrow you'll go out and you'll meet a shifty person. And you go, fuck. Shifty bastard. Yeah.
Know what? This is actually the last underlining that I have done.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I right now I'm on page 220, but no 320.
320, yeah, because you just read
Yeah.
298.
Yeah. But this underlining is on 306.
Right.
So it says the only value words have is that they enable us to imagine that we have a reality or consensus on any given thing we are discussing. But the reality is that there is no reality because words, language, and semantics are simply ideas of a completely fallacious reality. What is left if we take away words, language, and concepts? No thing. Try it for yourself. Just eliminate all the concepts you have been hypnotized with over your entire life and see what is left if we do not have language, concepts, and words.
You see, this book is chock a block full of um, just one lines that mean a whole bunch of stuff. Like I said last week when we spoke, one line in this book, and educated people could speak for hours upon. And so this is why I'm absolutely aghast that I can't get anybody else to engage in the book, even if they've only read, half of it like you have. Um, there must be 1,000 things in there that set their mind thinking. Um, but I don't know. Obviously not. Obviously not. You see, this subject, just to speak about language, words, and concepts, that's a fucking whole week's conversation. With very, very intelligent people. But stupid people, it doesn't mean anything to them. Oh, yeah, we all know we've got words and language, Owen. And
Yeah.
that's as far as they go. And it's like, oh, for fuck's sake. Look, if we just dismantle language, if we take away the concepts of cup, right? Take away the concept of cup. What is here? Tell me what you say is here.
Concept of cup. I see ball, or what do you call it? A kind of container with an like a bow beside it,
A
looking
handle,
at a
but
handle.
most people look, they'd go, it's a mug, it's a cup, it's a drinking utensil, it's a piece of pot, and I've got my daughter and myself on here when I'm not a bearded bloke. You see that?
Yeah, I see. Hmm.
And so, but if we take cup away, if we take mug away, if we take clay away, then we're starting to struggle. What exactly is here? And people go, well, take mug away, take cup away, take clay away, take utensil away, take crockery away. You're searching for the words. But if you keep going, if you keep just dismissing those words, till you run out of the words, then you say, well, what is here? If we don't have a concept for it, we can't say it exists. We can't say it's anything.
No. Yeah, but I can say that it looks in a certain way, but
Yeah, that's all you can
then
do.
I must say what it looks like, and
Yeah. And
then
so then what I say is, Andre, if we do this to the whole world, then there is nothing here.
hmm,
And people would find that absolutely flabbergasting because they think there's a physical world here. There isn't a physical world here. Because even if people go, oh, this is physical, look, well, if you take away what they're doing, well, take away the word physical. Um, Solid, take away solid. You see where we're going?
yeah,
Then you can't describe anything. And if you can't describe things, if you can't create it with words, concepts, and language, it doesn't manifest. It's nothing. Nothing discernible at all because we wouldn't know what it was. Now, if an alien came to our planet and started looking around at all the stuff that we've got, and it was entirely different to the land they live in. Let's just say they were sea creatures and they lived on an ocean planet, and they came into this land mass, and their boss said to them, "So, what do you see down there?" And he'll go, "Nothing." Nothing. What do you mean nothing? Can't be nothing. Well, if it's nothing like you've ever experienced, if it's nothing that you've ever generated a concept for or a word, then how could you know? How could you describe everything? Because every single thing we know, it pertains to words and language and concepts, doesn't it? Take all those
yeah.
away, nothing exists. And it's simple, but you tell that to people and they still couldn't get their head around it. But you see, that's how powerful this book is for intelligent people, because every single line just would lead you on a whole journey, a whole metaphysical journey.
The thing with taking away all concepts and all words and so on, also, when thinking about it, it creates some form of presence as well, because there's nothing. If one try to imagine it, it feels like becoming into the present moment, because there is nothing.
Well, you say, did you read the book about Rene Descartes? Did you read the bit in my book about Rene Descartes?
Um, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think
So
I
what?
just read that. Yeah,
Right. So what René Descartes did. Now, René Descartes was a French philosopher
yeah,
who lived in the 1600s, and he is renowned for his one line, which says "cogito ergo sum," and that
yeah,
means "I think, therefore I am." And
yeah,
so what he did was, one day he decided that he's going to sit down in front of his log fire in his little, stone house and discount every single thing he knows because he doesn't believe in any of it. Like I'm just saying, language and concepts and all that sort of thing. And so he discounted every one of his senses because he knew that he couldn't believe his senses. He couldn't believe his ears because, if there's a noise outside and he's like that and he sounds like a wolf, or is it a wolf? And then it probably could be just a creaking tree or something. And so you can't trust your ears. And then when the candle blows out, you can't see fuck all because it's pitch black, so you can't see your eyes. And then even if it is light, then your eyes play funny tricks on you. You can't trust the senses. And as we know, everybody's senses tell them something different. We know that there's no real truth out there. So what he did, he eliminated absolutely everything. But what he couldn't eliminate was the thought that something was thinking. And so he said, I think, therefore I am. But you see, the Buddhists go even further in their meditations and they say, no, when you are thinking, you're still in the illusion. When you don't think, that's when you are the pure essence of what you are. That's what you are. Because when you are thinking, that's the ego, and the ego is a fiction because
Yeah.
it is thinking in language and words and everything like that. You see, Descartes, he diminished all of his senses, but he never diminished language. He never diminished concepts, and he's held in very high regard for being a great intellect, and yet he never worked that one out.
No. Yeah. With that said, it's very interesting because I have thought about Descartes and so on. It has kind of been a philosopher that often comes up in much literature. I never read him because I um, I don't know. Maybe it's worth reading.
He's absolutely worth reading. And you see, look, in this book, Andre, I've put excerpts from um, the Tao Te Ching, um, Plato, uh, Rene Descartes, Carl Jung, Edgar Casey, um, Nick Bostrom, loads of people, Charles
Bert,
Darwin. You
Bertrand
know,
Russell, maybe also.
yeah, not so much Bertrand Russell, but people that said brilliant things
Yeah,
throughout the thousands of years, which are give deep and rich insights into the human psyche. So, like Plato with his allegory of the cave, that is massive for anybody that wakes up. He
yeah,
wrote about the whole fucking waking up thing, only he never called it the waking up thing. It's just the allegory of the cave, how people struggle to step out into the light, you
yeah,
know. And then once you are metaphorically in the light, you tell people who are in the darkness, they'll want to kill you. They'll want to stone you. He went running back into the cave and they wouldn't want to talk to him. They never wanted to come out. They were happy just watching the shadows on the wall in their tiny little lives. Well, this Rene Descartes, right? He showed the human being that there is fuck all here. There's fuck all here that we can depend upon. And that is big, and so the reason why I include them in this book because they are fucking massive, and some idiots. I've had one bad review from a woman I upset on the channel because she was talking shit. But she said, "Oh, it's little on spirituality, but heavy on drugs," and I'm like, "Fucking drugs are spirituality, you stupid bitch." Entheogens, it means to be with God. for fuck's sake. And anybody that's took entheogens know that they've had spiritual experiences. But this stupid bitch didn't know that because, she's anti-drug or what the fuck. And I'm
Hmm.
speaking, pretty fucking distastefully now, but these fucking idiots, they just wind me up. And she wrote a long fucking, dismissive review, but it came from a mind of a fucking pea,
Yeah.
because she couldn't comprehend the magnitude of what's in here.
Hmm.
And so, I put in stuff about the Big Bang, right? People have been writing about the Big Bang, Andre, since about the 1200s. How the fuck
Yeah.
did anybody know about the Big Bang in the 1200s? Because they fucking did. Right. And I'm reading this Madame Blavatsky book, which is speaking about all this supernatural paranormal stuff going back hundreds of years all around the world. And then scientists saying, oh, scientists have just discovered this. Scientists have just discovered that. Fuck off. People 2, 3, 5,000 years ago knew this shit. There's artwork found in Sumeria depicting 9 fucking planets. When you can't see 9 planets, you can't see Uranus, you can't see Neptune, and yet they fucking knew they were here. The
Yeah.
rings around Saturn. They didn't know the rings around Saturn until fucking very early 1800s or late 1700s or some fucking thing. I don't know. Maybe Kepler knew about the rings around Saturn and the 4 biggest moons on Jupiter. Jupiter's got about 65 moons.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so then Saturn's got about 45. There's fucking moons around all these planets. So anyway, look,
Yeah.
the ancient people knew a whole lot more than, we give them credit for. And now, with all this, bollocks that the scientists are coming out with now, what Madame Blavatsky is, she said, look, the scientists, they are calling our ancestors ignorant. Well, the scientists are the biggest ignoramuses on the fucking
Yeah.
planet because they're only just starting to get their fucking heads around it. People knew about it 5,000 years ago.
Yeah,
Um,
a modern man is very ignorant and think like, oh yeah, back in the days, people were really backwards and so on. Well, they were probably less backwards than the modern man, so to speak,
yes.
because uh, at the least ever since the industrial revolution people's mental capacity has just sunken while a few others on the top have very high capacity to
Yeah,
think.
because they've gathered up all the ancient scripts and information and they've kept
Yeah.
it to themselves and they've dumbed the masses down. Do you remember that coggy type computer thing which was found in Greece? Techie and
Ah,
machina, fucking whatever.
something like that. I I have probably read something about it. Was
They
it
recon
some kind of clock or something?
it,
What was
it,
it?
it depicts all the fucking planets.
Hmm.
Right, and so this thing was thousands of years old. And they've reconstructed it now, and it's immensely fucking precise and correct. Where did they get all this stuff from?
Hmm.
Anyway, I was meaning to look into that again to see so I could be more precise about all the details because that was a major big deal, and it just shows we went into a very very dark place, and that's why for 1,000 years we were in the dark ages because
Yeah.
all we were doing in the Western world were burning anybody that was intelligent and
Yeah.
didn't believe in the fucking Yahweh bullshit. Absolutely disgusting and vile. Um, but yeah, so the Big Bang, and you see what I write about also in this Big Bang is because in very recent times, because everybody's always been saying that nothing comes out of nothing, right? They've proved that wrong. because
Hmm.
what they do now, they've got certain experiments using electromagnetism whereby they are stretching the, the ether, the substance, the whatever it is, they're stretching the nothingness, the vacuum, and
Hyper collider, or
then
what is
no,
it called?
no, it's not that. It's something else. But and then atoms make manifest. So
Hmm.
they can see then that something is, in actual fact, coming out of nothing, seemingly.
Hmm.
But you see, when our quantum physicists tell us that the atoms, the energy of an atom, comes in and out of this dimension. It flickers, hundreds of times a second, in and out of other dimensions. Now you see it, now you don't. They can measure this and they know it to be true. And they say, well, we don't know where it goes. We don't fucking have a clue where it goes, but we're reckoning it goes into another dimension.
Hmm.
Because now scientists are saying that there's 15 dimensions now. These dimensions they keep expanding. They used to think, oh, we know there's 9 dimensions, and now there's 11 dimensions, and now people are speculating there's 15 dimensions. Before the century is out, there'll probably be 1,000 dimensions. There's probably infinite dimensions
Yeah,
here.
like the multiverse.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, you know, for people to really grasp what this book is about, they need to be very intelligent, very, very well read, very experienced, very open minded, and they have to have had a lot of spiritual, supernatural, metaphysical, psychological, philosophical experience. I mean, like I have. This is a man that's traveled very, very extensively around the world and done a lot of stuff, and I've put it in here. And when I
Yeah.
used to make my videos years ago, people used to say to me, "Wow, you just say one-liners, Aaron, off the top of your head, as if they don't mean anything to you, but they're really, really deep." And I'm like, "Well, that's how I speak." Because I can't keep laboring the depth of every single line I say, otherwise I'd never get through a conversation.
Hmm.
But if I mentioned Jung, well, in here is, a massive amount of Carl Jung's work. If I say Freud, again, a massive amount. Plato, a massive amount of stuff. Just one word leads into a whole different paradigm, a different
Hmm.
dimension of knowledge and experience. And if people don't have that, then when they read Freud, it means nothing to them. When they read Jung, it means nothing to them. It's just a fucking word.
Hmm. Because if you read books uh, to a certain extent, uh, you should be able to say something even around certain people that you might not have read so much about, and so on. I mean, uh, uh, one can gather up a lot of concepts from Jung as well, just by just have read a little bit of Jung. And like I haven't read Freud, but I still know that the ego, superego, and the ID and so
Yeah,
on. You
yeah,
know, that is kind of basic things to actually know within psychology.
yeah.
Uh,
So
I
in
think.
my book, I write
Yeah,
about that, don't I? I explain
yeah.
what the ego is because look, this is
You grasp these things far better than I do because I haven't read
yeah,
all that kind of stuff you have read and so
yeah.
on.
I used to have 30 Freud books on my
Yeah.
shelf, and he wrote about 80. Um, and so there's still a lot more to get through. Um, but when you read this stuff and you go deep into the human mind, you enter into another world. And so people who don't read philosophy, They haven't got a fucking clue what's going on in the world. The reason why, because they can't compute stuff. Because when you read philosophy, it enables you to be able to compute on a vast, the more advanced state. And when you
Yeah.
listen to people who have studied philosophy, this is why I'm always speaking about this guy called Alex O'Connor. He's got his channel called Within Reason, and this guy can think any fucker, to pieces. He listens to somebody speak, and they can be speaking for like 3 or 5 minutes, and he'll remember every fucking thing, and then he'll go back and he'll break everything fucking down and want everything dismantling. He's brilliant, and he's
Who is he? Atheist or
he's an
what?
atheist. Yeah,
Yeah.
write this name down, Alex O'Connor, and then go
I
onto
think
you.
I've seen him before. I don't have a pen right here at this table, I see.
Right. Okay. Well, if you forget it, then just drop me an email, and
Yeah.
I'll send you a link. But he's got loads and loads of videos, and he speaks to very intelligent people, all the super intelligent people: Jordan Peterson, Richard Dawkins, Sam Harris, Nick Bostrom, you name it. He's fucking
Mm.
out there, and he was doing this from about the age of fucking 18. He was just a
Mm.
boy when he was holding serious debates. He's very fucking bright. And so, this is the nature of people who have studied human psychology, have studied philosophy, and so they know a whole lot more about the human being. You see, the average human being, they don't know anything about themselves. They know nothing about the world. They know nothing about the cosmos. They know nothing about
Yeah.
the fucking selves. It's absolutely shocking.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but
It is.
look,
You can easily, or sometimes I have recognized that uh, like somebody that sounds kind of intelligent in a way, uh, don't have much knowledge, because it's just repeated and so on, And
yeah.
I think I see that pattern, especially in like political people and so on, because they are only out to persuade people into their side and so on, but they have no deeper knowledge of
No,
anything.
they
It's
don't have any
just
deep knowledge.
yeah,
They know how to argue. They can hold a
yeah,
debate. And you see, when you listen to people like Piers Morgan, British pundit, um,
yeah,
he's a very good debater. He knows all the tricks, and he knows how to control the conversation and don't let anyone speak. And if they ask a direct question, just like a politician, then he'll worm his way out of it. But
yeah,
politicians and people like that, yeah, they're intelligent in one way, but what they actually are seeking isn't intelligent. It's just rubbish. It's just
yeah,
complete rubbish. You see what politicians are doing today. If you watch the American presidential run, you'll see that it's just like the movie Idiocracy. It's absolutely fucking stupid. They're all a bunch of stupid cunts, and even Camilla, even the people in her own party say that we don't want Camilla to speak about policy because we don't want her to let herself or the party down. So what they're saying basically is we don't want her speaking about policy because intelligent people are going to be saying, well, what about this and what about that? And Camilla doesn't know any fucking thing about this and that. So they don't even want their president to speak about policy because they don't have a fucking clue, because they will never be implementing the policies. It's going to be the puppet masters from above. All they
yeah,
want is a bitch with a nice smile who talks about her grandma and how Biden is like a father to her. That's all they want. Just
yeah,
fucking retards, and that's all America wants, and so that's all America's gonna fucking get.
yeah.
And even on Trump's side, they're exactly the same, just a bunch of morons.
Yeah, I mean, they are just controlled, ecstatic, and so on.
Yeah, they're
Uh,
just wound up in a frenzy with stupid rhetoric. Now, in recent times, I found a channel which electronically produced Hitler's speeches in
Yeah.
English.
Yeah, I heard one of those. Yeah.
Right. Now, I'm telling you, man, this man was smart. This man knew about policy. He knew
Yeah.
exactly what he wanted to do, and whom and how he was going to do it. And he held everybody mesmerized. That's why there were hundreds of thousands of people at these Nuremberg rallies, absolutely mesmerized on the Fuhrer, because his passion and his articulation and everything he said was very, very powerful, meaningful, and intelligent. You
And he
just don't
was
get
an
that shit.
artist. He was really an artist
He
as
was.
well.
He was brilliant, and you know, people have told us for years, you know, ever since the war, you know, 80 years ago now. Oh, he was just a ranting maniac. No, he wasn't. He was a fucking genius, a very, very clever man, and he knew what he wanted. You know, and this is what they've done with the masses. They've hidden all that stuff from us, but
Yeah.
slowly it's coming out now. But it's so fringe, you know, because people don't want to promote that stuff. People like YouTube, they won't promote it, and they say, "Oh, it's fascism and it's this and that." It's no different to what the fuckers are doing today. All over the world, it's no fucking different. All these countries, America, Britain, France, Australia, they're all fucking fascist regimes now.
Yeah. This is happening while we are also seeing things from the Middle East is popping up as mainstream, you know,
Yeah,
you know who's and so
yeah,
on. It's just becoming more like, yeah, well, things that people didn't talk about before are actually become more and more mainstream and so on.
yeah.
And there's no way to keep it under the surface forever because it will spit out like a
Yeah,
volcano.
it's spitting out. And you see, with the advent of COVID, we saw many countries in the Western Hemisphere which instantly turned into dictatorships. You got Canada was a dictatorship, Australia was a dictatorship, Britain was, France was, probably most of Europe, America most certainly was. They all within an instant they got their orders from above, and they just turned into fascist realms, and they
Yeah.
haven't turned back. And now with our new prime minister, he's the worst we've ever had, and even people who voted him in, they're getting seriously concerned now, and he's only just started. You know,
Mm.
these next few years, Andre, this is the inverting of the world. They are going to
Yeah.
turn the world inside out. There's no stopping them now. They're going for broke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So I'm gonna say we could, if you just got this book and if you opened it and you started reading anywhere,
yeah.
then I'll be able to follow on with something meaningful from that.
Yeah. Okay. I just take from a random, and
Yeah,
then later on, when I have read more, we can begin again from.
yeah.
Let's see here. I am God. We are God. Consciousness is God. Everything is one. Life is a beautiful, a complex illusion that some people love and others have the misfortune to hate. And that's on 216.
Right. So, what do you feel about that? When you listen to me, you know, banging on about, you know, I am God. It's not like I'm God and everybody else are my minions. You know, I am a self-realized human being. I know that this whole creation, um, for want of a better terminology, is so vastly intelligent. Well, God is the highest acclaim we can give it. We can't say, the creator is genius because, well, that's just a given. So, well, the creator, for want of another terminology, is God.
Yeah.
The creator of all. Well, yes. But because it is the creator of all within are God.
Yeah, like
Because
the
if
hermetic
you
principle
say
as
I
well.
am Andre, right?
Yeah.
Well, every fucking cell in your body's Andre, isn't it?
Hmm.
Yeah. So, we pertain to the cosmos. Everything, we're all connected. It's all the same stuff, and so
Yeah.
we're it.
Yeah.
So, do you feel like that? What do you feel about that?
I have had those thought patterns like if I go back to writings from 2011, I know I wrote things about myself. I have written journals since 2010. So
Hmm.
2011, I have written like I am God, I am Lucifer, like I created myself, and so on. I
Right.
have written so I have had those thought patterns more when. Uh, Further back in time, and I have no hang-ups with it or anything like that, because in a way it's kind of true. At a certain stage, people were more god, but we have fallen from it because uh, yeah, I think the key is to realize that one is God, really. But
Yeah.
but I think people like 3,000 years ago, or even like back in Atlantis, which is even much uh, further back, must have known it on a much deeper level than we can imagine.
Yeah.
Because then they actually had all the technologies within themselves in many ways,
Yeah.
all the material things and so on, like a computer and a mobile phone and a microphone. Now, all that kind of stuff is technology that we have thrown out of ourselves, but the potential has always been within us, not without us,
Yeah.
and so on.
S-
That's a little bit of thought that pops up when I think
Yeah.
about
So, um, it's a certain level of consciousness that enables one to be able to feel one. And I've always felt one. Um, I've never felt little me. I've always felt immensely powerful. Like, I've got the power of the cosmos and I can do anything I want in this life. And that's why I've traveled all around the world on my own, without a single care in the world, just knowing that, I'm the fucking cosmos. With that level of confidence and
it.
security. And so when we just look around and you see everything, you feel everything, and you look up at the sky and you realize where you are on this tiny little blue dot in this mass of stars and stuff like that, it's kind of like, well, I mean, that's all a part of me. It's all within my consciousness. As far as I can see, whatever I can think about, whatever I can dream about, whatever I can envision, it's all me. And so, as far as I can see, towards the horizon and this, that, and the other, it's all me. Everything's me. And
Mm,
so, when you have a relationship with, all the natural things in the world and you feel a part of it, you don't feel different from it. then it's kind of like, well, why do some of us not feel different from it? Why do we feel absolutely the same as all this stuff? And why is it that when I'm looking at these plants now, I'm just looking at a reflection of myself? Because I know they're made of the same stuff. And if you looked at the DNA, there'd be hardly any difference. And there's just so much that we're not prepared to see. When you look at the intelligence, when you look at leaves as they start to sprout out their buds and they unfold and all their crumpled of stuff comes out and it all unfolds in a beautiful way and then it turns into big beautiful leaves which face the sun and follow the sun across the sky and they create photosynthesis. They change photons into glucose. What the fuck? Look at the genius in that. And then they filter in carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and breathe out oxygen. Well,
Hmm.
it's all us. It's all us. They're our lungs. They're cleaning. They're our filter system. It's like putting a filter in a fish tank. That's what all these trees and plants are doing. You know,
Hmm.
it's just. But most people they just go, "Oh, it's a plant. Oh, it's a tree," and they don't feel anything. They don't see anything. They've got no wonder, no imagination, no connection, and that's why I say, look, there's only a few of us here that really are self-realized shards of God consciousness, and that's what the powers that be know. They know, that there's different entities going on here. They know that there are millions of husks, and that's why they're doing what they're doing because they're just dead, empty fucking drones. They don't have this cosmic spirit. And, if you really want to know how these top people think, read the Kabbalah, read the
Hmm.
Talmud, and you will see how they have been thinking like Gnostics for thousands of years because they're just different people. There's just different varieties of hominid on this planet.
Hmm.
And so even people like Dolores Cannon, this little old lady, like with grey curly hair, sits there like she should be knitting. She's been saying this stuff for a long, long time.
Don't
Um,
know who she is actually.
yeah, I think she's actually English. To be fair,
Hmm.
Dolores Cannon, and she's deeply spiritual and she knows exactly what's going on here, interdimensional beings and all the fucking rest of it. And you wouldn't think so. Just little old lady, she's had the rollers, curling her hair, and sits there in like some sort of frock or woolly pullover and you'd expect her to be sitting there in front of the fire with knitting. But she's one of us. She's awoken and spirited, and she says that the vast majority of them they're backdrop people. They're just extras in
Hmm.
our movie, and so we don't really need to be compassionate about the minions because they're dead.
Hmm. Yeah.
Lots of people.
It's possible that they are dead. Probably hard to say, but it's many times it seems like that, and yeah, it's a lower form of consciousness also. Um, but I think there maybe there's a few that have actually nothing inside, where it's just a straight pathway between the impulse and the senses and so on.
Yeah, well, when you look into the phenomenon that lots of people don't have internal monologues or
Yeah.
dialogues. Well, if they don't have a dialogue, then how do they solve problems? How do they decide what they're going to do? How would they exercise remotely any free will if they don't say to themselves, shall I go to the gym? You've got some work to do. Maybe you should do the work. Yeah, I can do the work later. Let's do both. Okay, let's go to the gym. We'll have these conversations within ourselves. If you can't do that, how do you just go to the gym? Just on autopilot.
Yeah,
Something takes you there. Because you're programmed. Because you're programmed.
yeah.
Or
And
you've seen something on
especially
telly.
when you're like a proletariat worker, you need to like just be like that because that's the most valuable worker there is
Yeah.
somebody that are don't have that internal dialogue.
Yeah. So look, I mean, but lots of people, the vast majority of people won't want to take this on board. They won't want to hear it. Their level of sophistication isn't anything like broad enough that it needs to be. But they consider it elitist, and we're all supposed to be together and one and all that. Well, look at an ant colony. You've got ants that are blind that just tend the queen all their lives. You've got other ants that are blind that never leave the colony that just feed the larvae and tend the larvae and do this. Then you've got others that, do other jobs in there. You've got them which chew up all this fucking vegetation and leave it to fester, which causes heat to heat the colony. You've got a whole different bunch of shit going on in an ant colony. Then you've got the ones that go outside. We've got vision, and you've got the soldier ants, you've got the hunter gatherers, you've got the workers. They know exactly what to do. Where do they get their intelligence from, and why are they different? Well, I mean, it's just like human beings. You look at human beings. We've got the stupid idiots that work in factories all their lives, and then you've got other people that are doing much more sophisticated things like flying fucking Top Gun jets. Um, uh, there are many, many varying tiers of consciousness in this
Yeah.
dimension. And that's the fucking fact. And one day, if scientists are brave enough, they'll start to talk about that and they will shock the fucking world. Now,
Hmm.
a couple of days ago, I put up a video saying, 7 times humanity was shocked, something like that. And, Freud wrote about 3 of them. He said, look, um, man has been very, very shocked when it discovered that it wasn't the center of the universe because the sun never revolved around the earth. The whole fucking cosmos doesn't revolve around the earth. So that was very, very shocking for human beings to discover that we're just on one tiny speck of sand amongst gazillions and we're not really that important. Then the second kick in the bollocks was the fact that we realized that, well, God's just a fantasy. Gods, all nations, all creeds, all cultures all over the world have fantasized and created their own gods, all different sorts of things. Roman gods, Greek gods, Australian gods, Aboriginal gods, all of them. How different are they? And yet they're all convinced that they exist and they created the cosmos. They've all got their own stories and all that. And so then the third major kick in the bollocks, what Freud said, is that human beings are not even master in their own homes, in their own houses. This is the house. This is the home. So people think that you are master. Oh, I'm master. That's just the ego. The ego is a fucking idiot. The ego is a fool. It's just a dumb ass operating system. Right? And it's not master. It most certainly isn't even fucking close to being master. It just thinks it is because the human being is an automated creature and everything it does is premised on what it did before. It's just a survival mechanism. The ego doesn't control the heart. The ego doesn't control the blood. The ego doesn't control the endocrine system. The ego controls fuck all except your dumbass thoughts, which tell you that you chose to go to the gym. You fucking never chose it. Something else chose it. So um, that was the third one. Then I say, well, the next kick in the bollocks is now there's so many people that are absolutely, can almost prove that we don't have free will. They could be psychologists, they could be philosophers, and scientists. Scientists are saying when they cut off the top of the fucking brain and they stick probes in, they can recreate all different sorts of experiences from just by probing the brain. And
Mhm.
when the person chooses something, the scientists will know sometimes up to 6 seconds before what they're going to choose. So,
Mhm.
what free will? No free will. And so then when you go over and above that, then you come into a world whereby we're probably controlled by shape-shifting archons, invisible interdimensional beings. Then we may be just a simulation. In any case, we're not even human beings. We're just in a computer, because the cosmos is in actual fact binary zeros and ones. And this is what the top scientists, like, people who Neil deGrasse Tyson interviews on these stages with the top scientists from all over the world. They say that the fucking the cosmos is written in binary, exactly the
Mhm.
same as a computer.
But what I think about this, what are you calling it, the intelligent design. Uh,
Intelligent design, yeah.
yeah, it really is just the snake biting its own tail, because when scientists say, "Oh, it's intelligent design," well, it's like scientists try to recreate the religion, really. Because I mean, if there's a creator, yeah, but the Bible says there's a creator too, and the Quran says it, and like Bhagavad Gita says it, and so on. So it's just scientism is like a bit like um, ordering everything backwards instead, because it goes from the material world instead of the transcendent world. And I think there's thoughts behind that. It's like, okay, we bring people down more to the matter, which is the devilish part, which is the, yeah, the gravitational pull is downward, so to speak.
Right.
So that's within the realm that the scientists are dealing, and
But
so
whether
on.
they're scientists or whether they're spiritual or religious, they all say it's intelligent design. It has to be
Yeah,
intelligent design. It can't be random. And
yeah.
how many
But
scientists?
what I think a little bit is like, it becomes like that scientists are hijacking spirituality.
Right.
So, and I don't. I think that. Place in the hands of the powers that be also, because then they can strip away spirituality out of man, going that way, to, so to speak.
Why would that strip spirituality out, though?
Because you ordering everything from matter, instead you ordering everything from looking at things from a uh, deductive point
Right.
of view,
Oh,
so to
okay.
speak.
But yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I don't believe in the physical world, and yet I
Yeah.
say that it's intelligent design, because it's a dream in the mind of God, and so you know, it's a dream with a purpose and a reason, and everything fits so perfectly. And they say that to have this, like, Darwin reckoned, it would be like a hurricane blowing through a scrapyard and creating a Boeing 747. You know, it's a gazillion chance to one that we are um, random, that we came about through, random. Um, um, what's the technical term? Selection, the natural selection, but the point is, you see, when you look at the human being, well, show me what the fucking the stage before was. Show me what 10 stages before was. There's just one human being. There's one orangutan. There's one ape. There's one gazelle. One particular variety. Where's all of these um mutations?
Yeah,
Where's the human being that just had one eye in the middle of its head until evolution decided that it's good to have two? It's ridiculous. And
yeah, it really is.
the complexity to build something like a fucking eye, the complexity to build this could never have been randomly put together like a skyscraper. You put one block on top of another, one beam in on top of another. These things could never have done that. It came about in an instantly.
Yeah, because all that kind of stuff like Darwin came up with and so on, it also serves a purpose in a way, like because they stomp it down into the human mind, and well, when people believe that kind of stuff, they probably also become less spiritual and more stupid because they think that they come from a fucking monkey or something, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
And it is like, yeah, look at where you come from. You come from monkeys.
yeah.
So you cannot be that spiritually inclined.
Yeah, I just think that anybody that's intelligent just doesn't buy that bullshit, because
No.
intuitively they just know it's a crock of shit.
Yeah.
Because well, I mean, I have to check myself there, because intelligence is one thing, having a spiritual connection is another. So what I'm saying then, ultimately must be anyone who is spiritually connected, anyone who has the cosmic connection, anyone who has cosmic consciousness knows that this is just a dream. It's all fake. It's all evidently fake. It's a good fake, and it's probably a useful fake, and this, that, and the other. But just consider it a three-dimensional simulation. We can create two-dimensional simulations on the computer, or we can create movies that look like they're three-dimensional, and we can create varieties of apparitions that are three-dimensional. When you've got these groups on stage, when you've got these, whatever they're called. What are they called? When they're like a hologram. Are they holograms or something?
Yeah, yeah, they call the holograms,
Yeah,
right?
hologram. So they can create the hologram, and so look, they're creating like astral bodies already.
Mm.
And it's just the next stage before they can create the physical body, because all you've got to do is to make the energy more dense.
Mm.
Yeah. And so when I listen to quite a lot of near-death experiences and people that have been to other dimensions, and they've felt what it's like to be the astral being, and I have too. I've been out there and I felt, my consciousness has been there, but I haven't had the weight of a body, anything like that.
Yeah,
But the I has been there. My consciousness, my memory, my ego, all that stuff has been into these astral realms and that, and I've been doing shit in them realms, and then I come back into the physical body,
yeah.
and so people say,
Especially with the three-letter word,
yeah,
the
yeah,
one that is smoked.
DMT. Well, I think we
Yeah.
can say it. We just can't. Um,
And ketamine is also another pathway to that, I would say.
Yeah. So there's
It-
lots
because
of
you actually get out into a different dimension and a different world.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's so many ways, we can get outside of this, a narrow spectrum of consciousness. And anyone that's been out there just doesn't believe in this anymore. It's kind of like, well, I know there's at least one other world where I've been. Whether you go on ketamine or DMT, or you go on an OBE, or have some sort of near death experience, whatever it is, there's a myriad of ways you can step outside the very, very narrow confines of this dense physical dimension. And when people go to other dimensions, and let's say when they've had a near death experience, and they're told it's not your time, and you've got to go back. Well, when they're coming back, they feel their very self getting heavier, 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 and heavier, and heavier, massively heavy, until they end up in the pain body, and then they wake up, in a hospital, pain all over the bodies, and just thinking, my God, why did I come back here?
Hmm.
Because if you don't have a physical body, then there's no pain, there's no fear, there's none of that stuff. And these places, apparently, they exist. Um, and I've got no reason to doubt that they do, having been to lots of them.
Yeah.
And so then we look at this and we just go, well, nothing's true here. Nothing's real. It's all fiction. And we can see, we can strip it away so easy. Rene Descartes stripped it away so easy. Science strip it away so easy. They just say, look, we've performed this experiment. It's a double slit experiment. It's been done hundreds of thousands of times all around the world. And it's always the same. There is no physical matter. Fucking deal with it already.
But still, i- if it is this way or that way, it really don't change that much for the direct experience.
What do you mean if it's this way or that way?
If nothing is like true, and nothing exists, or it actually exists, and everything is true, it doesn't matter that much for the direct experience for the individual,
Yeah, no,
unless you are afraid of it being one way or the other.
yeah, I don't think there's any definitive realm. I don't think there's any ultimate realm where we came from, where we're going to go back to. I just think there are billions, infinite, of parallel universes, parallel dimensions that we will experience. Because we know we can leave the body and we can go into other, realms and dimensions, and lots of people, they'll tell you about all different sorts of varieties of places. And even when I was on some cannabis resin, I hadn't smoking it in many years, and I took half a joint, and I became paralyzed. And I write about this in the book as well. And so I'm lying down on the sofa. This is one of them in Portugal, and the only thing I could do was move my eyes. My body was absolutely, I couldn't even move my jaw.
Hmm.
I could just move my eyes and I could think. And this lasted for 3 hours. So why I couldn't move on the sofa, I thought, well, fucking hell, if I can't move, let's see what's inside then. And I closed my eyes and I'm like, well, just take me to the pyramids. Poof, I was at the pyramids. And I tell all these stories in the book, so I won't labour them now. Then I went, wow, take me back to ancient Mayan man. Poof, I was in the Mayan jungle, standing before crystal clear, shiny, glistening, perspiring, muscular tribesman with bone in his nose and, spear in his hand and all that sort of thing. And he was looking at me as if he knew me, you know,
Hmm.
um, very bizarre. Then I went, take me into the future. And then I was out in space and I was looking at a massive planet, which was like a Borg planet. It was built. And then the spaceship was the same. And just lost me for a minute.
Yeah,
Maybe it's because I'm,
see you freezed a little bit. Yeah.
yeah, maybe because I mentioned the Borg.
Hmm.
So then I'm out in space, and again, I've got no body or anything like that. I'm just conscious, and I'm out in space, and but I don't have a problem, breathing. I don't need to breathe. I'm just up there, and I see this massive planet and this massive spaceship, and they're both made identical out of the same sort of stuff, and it's all grey, sort of like gunmetal, and everything is rectangular. The planet's round, but everything is rectangular on it, and they've got beveled edges, so there's no sharp edges on it, and there's no shiny steel or metal to make a glare. It's all gunmetal buff, so it deflects. It doesn't cast light or sparks or anything like that. And I'm like, where did I go? Where did I go? And I did
Hmm.
that at will, just on half a spliff of cannabis.
Hmm.
And when I saw the pyramid, I've been to the pyramids, real in Cairo. But when I went there, I went back to ancient times, and I saw the Great Pyramid there, and it was when the sun was very, very low, and it looked very reddy, sandy color, and it was a darkness in the air. The sun was just about to go down, and then what I saw was grain by grain of sand. The whole pyramid just gets sucked away in a few seconds, and then poof, it was gone. But it was
Hmm.
absolutely real. I was absolutely standing there, you know.
Hmm.
So, being out into the astral world with astral beings and this, that, and the other, and then seeing all different sorts of, gods and creatures in the sky on DMT, absolutely super real. Well, I just don't have any confidence that this is a real reality either. There is just, myriad of other realities pertaining to consciousness. Consciousness is the only thing that's going on.
Hmm.
Yeah. And when you see the visions on DMT when you got your eyes closed, all this wacky, crazy stuff. Wow. Where is that?
Hmm.
Hmm. Anyway, we've done 1 hour, 50 minutes. I suppose we'll wrap this one up then before 2 hours. So,
Yeah.
uh,
I became quiet at times, because I always try to, like, okay, the mind always try to penetrate the um, things.
yeah. Yeah, well, if you're thinking about it, contemplating it, you're absorbing it, then it's kind of like, yeah, um, you know. And so all those things I've been speaking about, ladies and gentlemen, they're all in here and much, much more. And so, you know, uh, yeah, um, most people aren't ready for it. They're not ready for it. They they're not spiritually evolved enough, and anybody that's really going to be getting all of that book, of course, is going to be having all those experiences, or many, sort of similar, whereby you can go, okay, look, if someone's had a near-death experience, then they can get what it's like to have an out-of-body experience
Yeah.
because they're just different names for the same thing,
Yeah.
you know. Only we go to marginally different places, but the fact is your consciousness goes out of the body. And so, well, if you had one of those, then you'll be able to understand, you know, a few bits of it, and you'd be able to get your head around kind of like a psychedelic experience. Because in psychedelic experiences, you enter into different worlds.
Yeah.
You know, you take DMT, poof, the whole world's changed.
Yeah, right away. Yeah. It was a while back I did it, so
Yeah.
huh.
Oh my god. Um, so anyway, I did it, a couple of weeks ago in the
Yeah.
churchyard. I don't know whether you saw that video. Um,
Hmm.
oh man, I got hit so deep. I got hit so deep, and the natural world just it everything is living. Every blade of grass is an entity. Every flower is a microcosm of intelligence and genius, and everything is alive and playful and just amazing. And I akin it to like Jurassic Park or Avatar. You know, it's probably closer to Avatar. The natural world turns into Avatar,
Hmm.
and that is a beautiful place, incredibly beautiful. And when you look up at the sun, it's beaming like a kaleidoscope of colours. And when you're watching the waves coming down the ocean, it's like white, wild horses raging up the beach. And when you look at the sand, there's a thousand creatures crawling around. When you look at the cliff face, there's skulls and faces just turning inside out constantly. Nothing negative, nothing demonic, nothing like that. Just
Hmm.
all different sorts of faces of creatures and entities, and it's wow,
Hmm.
wow. And so if people haven't experienced that, they they're missing so much, and they've got to enter other worlds if they want to see this stuff, if they want to get
Hmm.
involved with this. When people speak about ayahuasca. I've never done ayahuasca, but it's DMT basically,
Yeah.
and so it's very mushroom-like. It's pretty well similar sort of thing, and the thing is with the ayahuasca, there's always like sort of like a feminine energy of a serpent there.
Yeah.
Lots of people speak about that.
Yeah.
I've never experienced this feminine energy of the serpent, but
My friend said that he has met that under a mushroom trip.
right,
Yeah.
yeah. So, okay,
Yeah.
great.
This time around is really where I go to sleep.
Yes, eleven
Even
thirty
before
for you,
that.
10:30 for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, another great chat. Really enjoyed it again, Andre. I
Yeah.
will try to be punctual next time. I don't know what's come over me. But yeah, I just I wrote it down on my pad and I knew it was there. And this morning I knew it was there. And then all of a sudden, poof, I got carried away doing something else, and distracted. And so, momentarily forgot
Mhm.
about that. But anyway, glad you could make it
Yeah.
later. And so, well, I look forward to the next one then.
Yeah. I read some more. We can take it next Monday or next
Yeah,
Monday again
yeah,
or
yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
All right. So just drop me a line to confirm that. And I'll see you then.
Yeah. See you then. Good
All right,
night.
mate. Cheers, Andre. Thank you. Bye
Cheers.
bye.